let's talk about what happens beyond the manual.
Hi everybody, happy holidays. It's the end of 2025 and it's that time of year that everybody puts out a list, which is just cheap, easy content that is really us trying to get onto other things and we're slapping some together. But not in this case. In this case, we're having this special episode of Beyond the Manual to talk specifically about some timely topics that will help you to reduce the chaos at the end of this year and start next year, 2026, off on the right foot. So for franchise companies, now is the time that you should begin thinking about the changes that you're going to make to your FDD and your FA. When you're doing all those, don't forget to update your documentation. It's a great time of year for all of you who are franchises and not franchises to clean out your closet. Out with the old, in with the new. Get rid of the things that are no longer serving you well or that could use some tweaks, and get rid of the chaos, make things more findable, make it easier to use, and really to kind of clear off your desk, and it's good for your own well-being as well. So taking a look at your entire library of information, you've got manuals, guides, playbooks, processes, procedures, policies, you've got tools that franchisees and users rely on. All of those things are huge, but over the course of the year, individual disciplines also begin to create documents or tweak documents based on their immediate need. And they don't always talk to other departments. So chaos sort of grows over the year. And despite our best intentions, that just happens to all of us. The question is whether or not we can govern it a little bit before we create. And now, at the end of the year, how do we clean things out? That can feel a little overwhelming to take a look at your SharePoint or your Dropbox or your Google Drive and say, oh my gosh, look at all of this stuff. So today we're going to talk about 3 different lists, not just one. The first list is what you should focus on. Where can what is the highest and best use of your efforts to make the greatest impact at the end of the year heading into the new year? The second list is your big picture goals. What is it that you really want to accomplish? What's your objective? Who's your audience? Those are the things that every document, every project, every goal needs. Who's the audience? What's the objective? And then the third thing is to help you plan your work so that this becomes smooth and it becomes more of a process and not just this wild task where you're trying to get rid of all kinds of things. So where do we start? And the first place to start is what changed. Over the last year, you have probably matured some processes. New franchisees came on and you trained them and you decided that, you know what, this doesn't work or we want to improve that. You may have gotten better at grand opening. You thought you knew what you wanted to do. You saw a couple of new examples and you want to add to that. Maybe you've matured your KPIs. For restaurants and for folks that have 4 walls, when you do a store visit, these are the things that we look at. Well, we've learned that we really want to improve this, or that our prep processes need to be improved. Maybe you've gotten new products and you've got new processes, new policies, new procedures. Maybe some of the policies no longer serve you well, or you want to reinforce them. So all of those things are where you should put your time and effort. And that really, there's a lot of other stuff that creates noise. You can look at that now and say, this really isn't all that important. I'm going to de-emphasize this, or I'm going to remove it, or whatever. Create something and doesn't consult marketing. Sometimes the construction team makes an improvement on the fly and doesn't necessarily let marketing know that they have updated that, and now the timing is off. So now the first step, and a really great place to start, is to maybe have your training team review your ops material and make sure that they're in sync, and to highlight the areas where you're not. Have marketing review the grand opening process or the new unit opening process. Have construction talk to operations to say, this is what we're planning to do. What does that modify within your own procedures? Do we need to add anything to a checklist? All of those things now help smooth over the seams and break down the silos between your disciplines. Everybody's working toward the same goal, toward the same big picture. The other thing that you can do here, and now is a great time to do it, is to remove duplicate content. You have, over the course of the year, someone has opened a document, saved as, and made tweaks for a specific audience. You probably have 2 or 3 versions of different things. This is also true across your platforms. Sometimes you've got things on a Google Drive that is also on your learning management system, or you've got things in your project management system on Monday.com that also exist on your Dropbox. Now's a great time to take a look at your platforms in the same way that you look at your manuals, guides, and playbooks. There's a specific audience for Monday.com. There's a specific purpose for Dropbox. There's a specific audience and purpose for your learning management system. Every topic, every document should have a platform that makes the most sense and not be on the others. So now is a great time to remove duplicate content, to segregate and make each one of your platforms do what it was intended to do. And that will reduce confusion among your users. It'll make things easier to find, and it'll give you guys a really clearer view of all that you have, and you'll know where to direct people. So it'll improve your support. It'll improve self-help. It will improve learning and understanding. And it will help overall with the big goals. People will know where to go. And then lastly, on the big picture, and the last thing that you want to do at the end of the year is archive. If you have been involved with the Create, Publish, Manage, if you've followed us for any length of time, if you've ever heard me talk, archive, archive, archive. Get rid of the old, because all of those things are available in search. Findability is the largest problem for every company that has a document library. Nobody can find anything, and that's because of metadata and because of search and because some things are in video and some things are in print. Getting rid of the duplications, archiving the old, get rid of that draft, move things so that the only things people can find are the things that are useful now, and they're current and they're accurate. Archive, archive, archive. All right. Now we've cleaned everything out and we're ready to look at next year. So what do? We need to plan the work. Of all of the areas that you've identified, the things that need to be tweaked, the new products, the new KPIs, the changes to your FDD, how do we prioritize those? So first, what you want to do is take a look at anything that is related to legal, to revenue, or to safety. Those are the things you should update first. Get a plan, talk to the different stakeholders, make and publish those updates. The next thing that you should look at probably are your tools and support. These are the things that will make your users more self-sufficient. And that is always the goal, right? If they can self-help on the things that you already have a very solid process for, a history, best practices, requirements, let them find that information themselves so that your support teams don't spend their time resending a PDF or sending a link to a hard drive. And then the last thing is ops and policy. If you've modified some things in terms of procedures, in terms of checklists, maybe a policy no longer serves you well. Maybe you want to give it more focus. Whatever that happens to be, that's last. Unless they affect legal, revenue, or safety, in which case they're first. So that's kind of your order for next year, and you're going to need some tools to help you govern that. The first one that I just strongly recommend, because most of you don't have it, is to create a workflow. And this is both for creation and for approval process. A lot of times we get so involved in creating new items that we simply write it up in Word, create a PDF, and then publish it. But we don't take the time to validate some of that new information with other disciplines, or to get leadership approval. Or maybe we only get leadership approval and we don't really think about legal approval. Create that workflow that goes from author to stakeholders to leadership to legal, and have as many cycles in there to get it right for each one of those steps. It feels like it slows it down, but it doesn't. If you take the time to create this workflow now and you follow it, with a little bit of discipline, then next year when December comes around and you have to archive, you'll have less to get rid of because the things that you do create will serve you better through the coming year. The next thing is to give every distributed author some tools. Most of you have a style guide, and that says this is how we use the logo, these are our fonts, these are our colors. But a style guide also moves down into the content itself. We prefer to use bullet points when we can. We use checkboxes. We use numbered lists. Do you create things in PowerPoint or do you create them in Word before you PDF them? So those type, and maybe it depends on the type of information that you're creating. But whatever that is, try to standardize that because it will speed up your creative and approval workflows. If everything is where it's expected to be, if you're using content models, if you're using templates, then the reviewers know where to find things. They know what to expect. It makes it easier for them to review and approve, speeds up that governance, and now everything is a little bit better. And then lastly, this is not a task that one person needs to take on and give themselves a month. It doesn't have to be a full-time job. Remember earlier we talked about prioritizing legal, revenue, and safety, and then tools and support, and then ops policy. You probably also have some times during the year where some things make more sense. The beginning of a school year, or maybe the end of a school year. Maybe after every new unit opens, you take the time to review how that went and to make tweaks on your process. Those become natural times when you can update certain items, and this spreads it out over the course of the year so that your legal team doesn't become the bottleneck of reviewing 300 pages of documents in January. Create an editorial calendar so that in Q1 we talk about this, in Q2 we review that, or that goes along with your natural seasonality. Before the school year, after I've onboarded a franchisee, after a new unit has opened, those are some of the natural places. Okay? So quickly to review this. First, take a look at your entire pool of content, all of your topics, all of your documents, your tools, your forms, all of that stuff, and look at what's changed. Because the other stuff, yes, you need to review it. But for now, we know that we need to update information so that it's correct and it'll improve the consistency and support for the units. Next, get together with a big picture. Break down the silos between disciplines, smooth out the seams, make sure that everybody's on the same page in terms of what has been created, what remains, and what the workflow is going forward. And then lastly, plan the work. Get somebody in charge of this. Again, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know that I advocate having a librarian. One person who knows where all of the topics are. They're an expert on your channels. They're an expert on your platforms. Maybe they know enough about the operations and the details to understand when something is wrong, but they know when things have been duplicated. They know who the SME is. They know when to update. They know how to keep it on brand. Having a librarian is critical. So have your librarian plan the work, lay out your editorial calendar, give users or authors the tools they need to create, and now you have a content operations platform that will smooth your work. It will improve your users' retention and their ability to find things. It'll decrease your support costs, and it'll reduce your content chaos for 2026. So, all of that. This is a special episode of Beyond the Manual. It really is just meant to be timely, to be a quick hit. Come back to us in January where we're going to go more into the create, publish, and manage cycle and what that means for you. And until then, I hope everybody has a happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Beyond the Manual is a Manual Makers production. This episode was hosted by Brian Garner, directed by Chase Flacius, produced and edited by Charlotte Blow, commentary by Lucia the Spanish Paella. Visit manualmakers.com for more resources. If you like what we're doing, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts.